부처를 이루었던 아니든 목적은 다른 중생을 돕는 것이라는 것을 알아야 합니다. 요것도 이제 요 말씀도 대단히 중요한.
Whether you have achieved Buddha or not, you need to know that the motivation lies with you helping other sentient beings. This is also a very important saying.
부처라는 것이 목표이라 그러면
Because we live in a world, or because we live only with the sole determination, if we say becoming Buddha is the only motivation of our life, in order to attain the Buddhahood, it's also important to have the conditions and also the cause to achieve that. Without that, if you are only trying to achieve the motivation without thinking of other causes or conditions, if you ignore the condition and also the cause, it's just like looking for the result without looking at the procedure. It's very important because of what reason, and if you are faithful to it, then the answer will come to you very precisely, but you ignore the reasons for it. Just like Yu Byung-hun, just because we are redempted from heaven, because of what are we redempted, and due to which act of mine I was redempted and the door of heaven was opened. If you do not convey that precisely, and even if you give them the precise reason for it, then you should know that if you know that the condition and the cause is wrong, then it is not the path that leads us to that redemption. So even in Buddhism, the final motivation or final aim is to reach the Buddhahood, but you also need to know what is the precise condition and cause for it without any misunderstanding. This is just like doing agriculture. You plant a pumpkin and the pumpkin sprout grows, and the flower grows, and from that the pumpkin is born. Without this procedure, there's no case ever that's been found that you just plant the pumpkin and the pumpkin was harvested without those procedures. And also we go through numerous conditions after we plant the pumpkin and until the time that we harvest the pumpkin. There is a problem in Korea because we just say that without any procedures you just attain the Buddhahood, but that is not written anywhere in any sutras. That's the reason why our Buddhism is deteriorating. We should give it a thought. Without farming, but we're only thinking about the result, which is the rice. So in the winter, you have to prepare the farm, and in spring, you need to make the rice field, and in the rice field, you have to put water, and the water you also have to plant the seeds, and through different procedures, even the weather and also numerous different conditions, rice is harvested in the autumn. And amongst all these different conditions, because there are so many conditions which can go wrong at once, we might not also harvest it, just like if you meet hurricane in the autumn. And in this way, even attaining Buddhahood, it's possible that we only meet those people who have not really attained the real Buddhahood. They do things that is against our restrictions, and also they go around doing wrong things, and everything. There is nothing that is against the cause and the effect law that we know. Whether you have achieved Buddhahood, and even if you have achieved the Buddhahood, it should be so that that is for human being. It is not so that because you have attained Buddhahood, you do not have to wish for other people. If you do that, then it puts you in the worst condition than not achieving the Buddhahood. Becoming Buddha means you are doing it for other sentient beings. There's no sense of I in it. So whether you have become Buddha or not, or whether you are the Buddha or not, if it's not for the good of or other sentient beings, it is not so that you are becoming Buddha. Whether as per our tradition or the custom, you sit in the monastery and you pray. It is not how things are done. We need to have a clear consciousness, and we also we need to make sure that things don't go wrong. There is no benefit out of it. We need to know that the motive lies in doing good for other beings. Because eventually it is a selfishness. After attaining Buddhahood, and if you want to have the benefit, if that thought is inside of you, even a little bit, that means you're not Buddha and you have problem. The motive to become Buddha and also the act of becoming Buddha means there's no I in it, and it is only for the good of other beings. If that is not given as the conditions or the basis, then it doesn't provide you the proper directions, and also it doesn't justify. You understand? Whether you're in the celestial world or whether you're in the hell, you need to know that the motive lies with you trying to help others. It's only possible to become Buddha if you're a human being, but the sattvas, there are also sattvas who are in heaven or hell, or even in the animalhood. You know, in Hungum Monastery, we have the painting where we have different sattvas in there. One of the sattvas is in hell. Out of the voluntary act went to hell, but is not burned in hell because of cause and the effect. As per the cause and effect regulation, the effect happens due to your karmas. So even if the hell is burning, the fire or the flame in hell it has happened because of your own acts. So for the sattva in hell, there can be no karmas for it. So even the Nechungkutila, is a sattva that belongs to the celestial world, but his motive is to help others. Without that, he doesn't exist. I try to help all sentient beings with my best, and that is not against the Buddhist laws. It means he's trying to help. It is not so that they are trying to change all karmas of human beings to good virtues. That is all cheating. There can be nothing like that. If there is permitted, then I have planted the apple tree, but regardless of my wish, the apple becomes a pear, and pear becomes apple, and if the hurricane becomes the soft wind, then there is no need to have the scientific research or the scientific forecast. We can live our life as we want. If we have comb our hair in this way, but we want it that way, then there's no need to do it this way. Isn't it so? It doesn't matter how long it takes. If you think that you have done for too long and you feel bored doing this act, but you should know that this itself is my life. You should think that your act of wishing or doing good for other sentient beings itself is your life. But if you just try to do it only this life, that means it is only your idea as per the time limit. So whatever life that you get, you will wish to, or you should hope to spend it for the good of others. You understand? Or else, if you have this kind of short-sightedness, then I think there's no need for you to come to the monastery. If you come here for a long time, then sometimes I have the hope that maybe you will have the kind of resolution to help others. But if you don't think so, then why it's not profitable. And if you just keep doing things that takes you to the hell, then it doesn't help much. Unfortunately, there's not so many people that goes as what I hope, but instead you just continue with your act of going to hell. You know Shantideva, right? As he's saying, oh, they don't even tell you to come, but you keep coming to the hell. But instead, they are not asking you not to come, but you have problem going to the heaven. Although Shantideva has said something like that, although it is not in exact words, it means somewhat like that. Even the act of doing good, people are like that. If you do some good things and if it is profitable to you, then it gets expanded to you. You just try to look at it with other kind of mindset. In our language, we say you try to look at it in a magnificent way. But you know, those kind of your flows, you just try to see it in a very, very, very tiny way, in the minutest details. But weirdly, in a very strange way, you try to see other people's flows in a very big manner. So the hurt of people is that bad. But still, people are a little better than animals. Even at the time of your death or even alive, your motive for practice should be for the good of others, and for that you are trying to achieve the Buddhahood. This should be your determination. So even if you sit with crossed leg for a long time, as long as you could, if you do not have the selflessness, then it is a variation from the Buddhism. if you say, regardless of all other sentient beings, if you just try to achieve the Buddhahood or enlightenment by your meditation or practice, there's no way that you will become a Buddha. So the practice in Buddhism, that's what I think, whether it's Christian or Islam or Buddhism, it is something that is needed for the good of others. If you say it is for the good of ourselves, then it is better that it disappears soon. If it's because it is harmful to everyone who doesn't trust and also to those who trust. Look at those redemption sects right now. Look at them, how much they suffer in their darkness. They go through the court and they're being criticized throughout the world, and also the head of the sect is dead, and because of him the whole country was in mess. And what kind of religion is that? So whether it's heaven or whether it is hell, there's just a difference in the sound or the saying. But if you have thrown away your selfishness, and if you have the sense of doing good for other beings, if that is in ultimate form, we call that heaven. Or else there is no other way in which we can achieve the heaven. There's no way. After understanding this mind, we also need to develop this. We have to try our best to develop that, and we call that religious people. And also those people who has already become a monk or priest, those people, they should be able to throw away or remove themselves from all the things or all the ties with the wall, and they should try to practice. And with that mindset, they have shaved their head and also changed the color of their clothes. And also the sattvas in this common world, they are trying to lead everyone to the proper path of Buddhism, to the road of enlightenment. Let's go together. In order to do that, we are still in this world, or still in this mundane world. Or else, there is no reason to have a religion. And I agree with what Dalai Lama says for 100%. My religion is compassion. My religion is the compassion which is for the good of all sentient beings. There is nothing else. Just because it is on my side, I don't lose my sense of tranquility. And because it is not on my side or my enemy or other, because it's on other side, I start hating him. That's not my religion. I only believe in Buddha as my teacher. The act of selflessness, the act of itself, it is my faith, and it is the belief of my happiness. More than that, what else is needed other than these things? Through experience, you need to understand this kind of mind, and then after you have done that, you need to accept the Bodhisattva precepts. If you have the thought that, oh, this is correct, then I will try to develop the sense of Bodhisattva, and I will try to pursue the path of Bodhisattva. I will live for the good of other beings. If if it does anything to give them a little happiness, then even if I have to pay thousands and 10,000s of worth, I will do it. This means that so if you have a strong desire for the life and also the actions of sattvas, then you need to accept the bodhisattva precepts. And after that, you have to follow all the regulations. And you also need to have the 10 stages of faith and also the 10 stages of about the security of bodhisattvas, and also the 10 first stages of action and practice. You have to believe and you have to do it, and after the consequences or the final result is Buddha, you need to trust that, and I have become the sattvas. You have to have the faith in that, and after that, and then we say you enter the stage of the first stage of the 10 stages of faith. We have that kind of desire, and for that we need to have the wish or the desire. What is the life method, the living method of bodhisattvas? So after having this kind of heart, how do you have to live to be sattvas? Of course, there is developing the sense of bodhisattva and also practicing the life method. So you need to have the sense of bodhisattva. When you say you are doing it for the good of all sentient beings, at the very low level, it is helping those who are hungry and also helping those who doesn't have anything to wear. And of course, you need to help them in the material way. And even if you have done so, because he is born as a human being and is going through the enlightenment, there are things inevitably there are things, or there are karmas that, or the sufferings that he has to go through because of his actions, because he's born or he's aging and he's dying, and no matter how much karmas and no matter how much virtues are done, it's inevitable that you'll go through repeated suffering, and the method to remove you or to help you to get rid of those suffering is just like Buddha. I will try my best. I practice each behavior of mine. When you say we develop the sense of bodhisattva, it means this, it means this. So you need to develop the kind of desire continuously. Omniscience is only achieved only if you are able to remove all the agony and also useless thoughts. They need to be filtered, and then only you can achieve it. All the wrong ideas were removed and he has achieved it, and that is also the sense of omniscience. When we say he has achieved the divine enlightenment, that means he has gone through all the wrong thoughts, and he has been able to achieve the final stage. And even the unconsciousness, he has been able to achieve the removal of all the delusions and also agony. We call this stage Buddha, and also he has achieved omniscience. And we also say Buddha knows everything. So if you ask, does Buddha know how to drive a car? He doesn't know. That's all technical methods. That's why I don't drive car. If it's got something to do with becoming Buddha, I would have learned it in a very swift motion, but I haven't. If you say there's something that's got to do with becoming Buddha, then I would have tried my best to do learn it. But after I came to know it has nothing to do with it, I decided not to learn.
우리가 이제 세속적으로 기도를 하면 뭐가 조금 될까? 아이고 뭐 소원을
It is not something that can be achieved through simple wish or prayer. We tend to believe that when we pray, something will be done or something will happen better, or if, and also when we have a desire, we wish to become rich, but how good will it be if we become Buddha because of that? And also we sit and we also think, we also ask, what's the benefit of the 10,000 eyes and hand sutra? And we sit down and we recite those prayers. It doesn't happen with those kind of things. Even the prayer, there are only two things. One is repenting what I have done so far, and the other one is the wish or the desire to live my life for the good of other beings. There are only two things. It's only repentance and also it's also a statement. So those people who has been practicing so far, they already know it. So if they come to this life and if they listen to it once, they know it. So they say, there's no need for me to do it again and again. But as I said, as I given the example, it's not possible for us. In order to make the cloth, we cut the old 4 to 5 years old bamboo. We cut it and we carve it and we grill it a little bit in the flame, and then we put it. We just hang it under our roof. And after 2 to 3 years, it hardens, and if you try to use it as cloth, it does well. It acts as a rake in a very good way. But other than that, if you don't have the patience to wait for it, and if you just use it, then because of the bamboo's quality to go back to its own nature, it doesn't act as the cloth. You know, we all the time we pray in order to remove our suffering, that there is no end to all sentient beings. I will try to save them. Even if you do it all the time, and even when you go to the market, you just say you save other sentient beings, but you go to market and buy something more, and then you want something more, and you ask them to give you more bonus, and also you speak in a very rude way. I feel so ashamed, so I cannot go to market with you. So you put the person in front of you and you say, oh, the product is not good, there's no need to buy this product. How can you say those kind of things? Each time I hear that, I feel bad. I feel like something is stopping my heart, so I cannot really go with other people to the market. If you feel it is your mother in your previous life, would you talk to her in that way? Because you feel so bad about it, you try to buy more. That is so petty. You sit here and you pray that you try to save all sentient beings, but then you go to market and you make such comments. So that's why even if you try to do it, it doesn't work out. Think about it. Before we went for travel, and they were just killing the travel agency. If I was the head of the travel agency, I would have just told them that I'm not going to work here anymore. That person came to India in order to help me with things that I don't know about India, so you should be grateful. also people, when they go to Philippines for $300, that is not even worth the flight fare. But instead, they come back and say when they came, they complained that they were only taken to places where they had to do shopping, and also they couldn't even look around together. You didn't even pay well for the price of the flight. You have not paid worth of your journey. When you are doing the military practice, they take you to the place where you have to, where you are trained. And so when you come back, you're so hungry. So in the uniform, there's no pockets to put money. So you just put everywhere in your socks and every place where it's possible. But the trainers, they know where you'll be having your money. And so they also know how much you have to be trained or how hard they should give you so that the money, this certain of money will fall. So if they think that they have not collected enough money, then they make you roll around on the ground a little more, then the money will fall off. So and after that, all the money has fallen, they start collecting the money from the ground after sending them to another practice, and then they go to spend that money, and after that they have and also after that you have completed the practice. You go to the top of the mountain where there is a shop which is on the way, and then you try to buy the bread, but then you come to know that all the money has fallen already. So when you go to Philippines for $300 and you complain that you have not seen anything, I don't think there's much difference. And you have decided to go for travel, go to the trip for $300 when you know that it's not going to even when you know that even the flight will be on a budget flight. So if you want to go traveling, then you should after calculating how much is the hotel and how much is the food, and if you compare the price of money that you have invested, then honestly, even if you have to pay a little more money, you have to travel in a more comfort. But in Korea, is not practiced very well. You just tend to believe that you went for a cheaper trip, and that's better. And you just take into consideration that you have been to the trip. I don't know where we were that we led all the way to the travel. So when it's a simple practice, or when there is a simple achievement of your prayer, nothing can be done. Achieving your dreams, there can be two different ways. The first one is lowering your cut line, your expectations. If you have believed that you wanted to earn 100 million this life, you don't take into consideration of your virtue, but if you lower your cut line or your expectation to a million, then you know that this can be achieved. So this is achievement of your own wish. And also achieving the dreams, the other way is by doing virtuous deeds which can fulfill your desire. So just think about it. Go to bank and beg for money, and if they give you $10,000 or $100,000, they will not give it to you. So because you go to some temple and because Buddha is lying on the side, and also the rock is achieving your dreams, I've never heard of things like that. That's all cheating. And also all the things in Sorak Mountain, there's also the tomb of lyrics, and if you go there and if you pray there, make your dream come true. How good it would be if the lyric tomb achieves your dream? Then I will make thousands of lyric tombs. So remove your expectation or lower your expectations and do many virtuous deeds. If you don't do both, then there is no other way. So all the time you need to remove your expectations or lower your expectations and think about it. Sometimes I think, sometimes you should think that my virtues are even lower than the crescent moon. Moreover, if there is a cloud on the crescent moon, you are not able to see it. The person who has less virtue, he is more angry. Because of your lack of virtue, you are not able to see it more clearly. So you should tend to believe that this is my virtue and I should be satisfied with this. And also, if you're just feeding yourself on the belly, you should just be satisfied that, oh, at least I am able to eat this. But then if you think that with this karma or with this virtue, if you will be so unlucky next life and you will won't be able to help each other or anyone else, if you think that if there's nothing to offer, then at least in your heart, if you keep offering, then for example, if someone got $10 and for $3 he ate ramen, and for $7 he wants to offer, this kind of thought will occur in your heart, and that will become the seed. And you know, there is a big tree in front of our monastery, and it was very small. I planted it, but then now it has grown for 14-15 years. But who would know that it was just a small seed before? Dalai Lama has said so once. In his many lives, previous lives, he was no one extraordinary. And he said he saw me in the prison in Egypt. But then if you know that it was in prison, there's nothing, I'm sure that we were no any better human beings then. But then now we want compassion, and we have the sense of bodhisattva, and now we are living at this kind of life. Isn't it more than better? What he says is correct. Detailed delusions and also agony, you need to use the counter method in a very appropriate and also detailed manner. Then only you can remove them one by one. You know, the parsimony, if you live it and if you keep practicing it, and even if you haven't able to achieve samatha after practice, this will you'll just become someone, you'll become a practitioner with parsimony. So even Buddha, if he did not practice well, and if he had just become Buddha, then even Buddha would have been very stingy. There is not a completed form. That is not the form that has been completed. So if you are stingy, then you should start with trying to give away to others. Then only your heart will expand, and also you will start having the feeling of trying to help others. My sense of violence will only lessen if you stick with the regulations. the sense of anger will never lessen if you don't have the sense of bearing, and if you don't have the wisdom, it will never disappear.
사마타가 이루어진 뒤 관을 통해서 관찰해서
And also the sense of distraction can never be eliminated without the samatha.
이건 아니다. 명확해.
You need to observe properly, and then you need to say this is for sure or certain. It's not. The Buddha's teaching is never maybe. It's always very accurate. Then only things that were holding you back against the main hook will start disappearing. Today I was drinking tea and one of the dog came. Who brought it to my room? There was a York Terrier and it's written on the envelope. It fell from high place, so the behind leg is paralyzed. So if it's a dog that they have been growing so far, then they should take care of it. If you say after you get married, if your husband falls sick, are you going to try him? That's unacceptable. Because you promise that you will take care of him and you will live with him forever. If you are as a human being, then you should try to obey what you have been promising. After that, if it's that, then there's something else. If it's also a dog, then because they die sooner than us, and if they've been hurt, then you should take care of them still. I've been drinking tea in the morning. One of the dogs who had paralyzed leg came in and he was limping. And I saw the dogs. They live in groups, so they think of the owner as the leader. So if they lose your owner, then they forget. Dogs live in a natural, instinctive way. That's why they can never forget. That's why, for your benefit, if you want to have the dog, then don't take him into your house. Think of the dog as a life, and then try to bury it. Only at times only at the times that you think it's cute, you take him. It's also very hot. The weather was also very hot, but still you had clothes worn on the dog and you brought him out to the walking. Like it was so hot and I was wiping my sweat, but still to the dog you put on the clothes. And I was walking by and I asked, don't you think it's going to be too hot? But she said, oh, my dog is fine. But did you really speak with the dog? It's your opinion, it's not the dog's. And also it's written in the letter that bring him up properly, I am sorry. If you look at it on the other side, then how bad is it? The life, whether it's a human or whether it's animal, if it's the life that's being the topic of the discussion, and if you are the topic of the discussion here, how fearful would you be, and how bad would it be when about 600,000 Jews were dying. They took out all the clothes and they took out all the ornaments and they put him into the gas room. But everyone knew that it was a gas room. What kind of crime is that? It's a grievous crime. they cannot move in front of the guns, in front of the knives because they were so scared. I think the Catholic Pope is a hypocrite. The Catholics throughout the history, they killed so many different people. If you look at the big issues during the Roman, it was a Catholic who was in the frontier, and they started the war imperialism, and then the Crusades. They also killed so many people, and they died a lot too. When they killed the Jews, the Catholics, they cooperated to their fullest might. Because of their cooperation, they got paid from Italian government, and even that wealth is still there in London. In Southern America, in Peru and Inca, they went in the Spanish army and they killed about 5 million people. And also in the northern part, it's not Catholic but proletariat. Or the Protestants, they kill about 3,000 Red Indians. They call it the witch hunt, and they kill so many people who doesn't believe in Catholic, and that's more than 8 million. They hung the witch to the cross, and only if they burn them to death. They say the evil spirits will die off too, so they burn they put out the fire ablaze and kill the people. You can still see the residues of it in Europe. Those kind of things, they should repent to their fullest strength, but in the Southern America, they kill about 50 million people, and they start repenting, and they build church in order to repent. That is not the act of repentance. They go around and they act like a saint. They committed errors and they should try to make up for it. Buddhism, until so far, we have never killed people in mass. There's something not acceptable. No, these kind of things, we should not forget them. How can they alive? How can they think of killing the other life? Even if you are about to die, you should not think of killing others. Isn't that a religion? Whether it's the name of the God or Buddha, even if you say it's the name of Buddha, then the Buddhism should be eradicated or in this world, because that's act of pettiness. If you try, why do you do the act of killing even if it's one life? This is a serious problem. Buddhism from Narita University, because Muslims came and the monks, they didn't budge. They would just sit and they would meditate. Because they were just sitting, they didn't have any weapons, and there was no reason for them to have weapons. They just killed out of fun the monks in Narita University. So even now, Muslims and also Buddhism, we never try to have a war. Even if I die, I would never raise war. Look at Dalai Lama. After I heard that, I kneel and said, I will treat you as my teacher. I'll take you as my teacher. In front of me, everyone who was in front of me from Tibet, who came from Tibet, they were all warriors. When they had big mustache and they were all wearing yak leather and they were really big. And they were wearing big knives and they came. And they bowed to Dalai Lama and they requested, please be silent, then we will make China the land of blood. Don't tell us anything and don't just blog us. Don't give us any orders, but also don't blog us. They are the people from Kham region. And Dalai Lama's expression became a little restricted, and he sat and he started crying. He started shedding tears. And then he said, you also believe in Buddhism. You also we believe in Buddha. What is believing in Buddha? We believe in Buddha's teachings. Isn't it that we believe in Buddha's teachings? Amongst Buddha's teachings, was there anything that said, oh, you can be happy through other people's suffering? Although I have studied so far, I've never read any line that said, oh, you can become happy through other people's suffering. I've never seen it in one of the sutras or scripts ever. Although China has pressed us so much, it's maybe because in our previous lives we have done this kind of deeds. So let's wait until our karmas disappear. Even one life, let's not ignore and let's not kill. Chinese, they're just in this karma together, but they're our friend. How can you say you would like to kill them? Amongst the sutras or amongst any abhidharmas, if there's any line that says you can achieve happiness through other people's suffering, I will give up. He convinced them for 1 hour. So the Chinese people, they're very dumb and they're people of less wisdom. Milestone or Ding Ping, they just they don't know how to see the truth. Those Tibetans, if they become angry, they are very scary. Before they started believing Buddhism, they thought killing people is very easy and also fun. Because of their belief in Buddhism, they became like a very mild sheep. So those people, because they cried, they sat and they cried until their eyes were red shut. And they asked, until when do we have to wait? So Dalai Lama smiled and said, it's not until when, but until China stops having this kind of evil thoughts. Let's wait. Let's tolerate. This is our... So in Buddhism, we never thought, if you are not on my side, you are my enemy. If ever, because Buddhism is on this land, and if we think that Christian is an evil thing, we would have blocked them, even if we had to shed blood. But Christianity, they don't know how to be grateful for those kind of things. But we did not do that. So even if it's one life, even if it's the life of an animal. If you look at the basis of the life, there is nothing different from us. It's just different. It's just slight difference in the karma because they are in the body form of the animal, but because I'm in the body form of a human, that's the only difference. It's only the difference in the shape, but even they try to be happy, and it's saying if they are hungry, they also suffer. When I was growing, when I breed those dogs, I realized they're not much different from us. It's just that we have slight difference in karmas.
그래서 우리들 마음속에 철저하게 그 어떤 생명도 나로 인해서 해를 입어서는 안 된다는 생각을.
That's why in our heart, we have to have the thought strongly in our heart that we should not harm any other being because of me. Whatever life it is, if you ever have it in your heart, it won't be accepted. When I saw on TV in the comedy program, they were like, 안 돼요.
이건 지옥 중생이 됐건 어디 중생이 됐건 축생 중생이 됐건 천상
Shouldn't be. This is whether it's animal or celestial beings or hell or none of them are the object of envy or hatred. That's why previously one of the priests said Buddhism is a gift box or a ghost. And I say, yes, it's correct. Every ghost can come here and be light. But even here, you see so many ghosts here. Everyone is ghost here.
보살의 행위는 방편과 지혜 두 가지 범주를 나눌 수 있습니다. 보살의 행위는 방편, 그러니까 방법. 그 방법은 두 가지로 얘기할 수 있어요. 하나는 뭐냐면
the behavior of sattva or the act of sattva can be divided into two different parts. One is instrument and the other one is observing precepts. So the methods can be taken into two different methods. The first one is me entering into the practice. The second one is how to save other sentient beings. We can talk about those two methods. And what is wisdom? Wisdom is attaining the voidness. There is no being which we are to say it is I, but everything happened because of the dependent arising. If you look at it from the other part, you might say that it is mine, but there is no being which is actually mine. So even if you have actually given to someone else, you should think that I'm void, and also that object was not mine from the beginning, and so you should not say you have given it. It never belonged to you. That is the wisdom of voidness. That is the proper voidness. You should have something that belongs to you to give others. So we should think about it this way. It changes as per the relation, and so due to your relation it changed and goes back to you. After listening to such speeches, I hope your mind expands a lot and you'll be able to live a happy life. How great would that be? Those people who fast because of the soul fairy, those people, they're fasting for 40 something days, and I heard people commenting on them. people who divorce, they are fasting. But even if and claiming that they are expecting money, but even if it is they are divorced, but it is still his child. So even if you're looking after money, because food is something that's got to do with our natural instinct, you cannot fast for 40 something days if it's only for the money. You don't try to console the hurt of the person whose child has been like thrown to death. Instead, people comment on it like it's after your divorce and you are doing it for the sake of money. Maybe it's a misunderstanding on your part. Think about it. If you put yourself in his position, if your child has died, would you be able to say the same thing? Charity and also taking precepts, etc. Obtaining this method practice, it has to have the basis of practice of the wisdom. It should have the influence of it. So before we talk about the voidness of the charity, so even restricting our regulations, it is also with the hurt that it is for sake of other people. We are also doing it because it makes us happy. But on the other hand, we also tend to believe that I'm the right one, or I am the better one, and so people tend to believe that I am doing the correct thing and you are doing the wrong things. And that's why Yu Byung-hun also said, if you don't follow what his behaviors, it is the wrong thing. That is very wrong. So even the essence of the forbearance, because something called I never existed from the beginning. If it's anger and ego and also my agony that causes the anger, but you should know that it is a wisdom of the voidness to know that these things never actually happen or exist, and so it happens because of the wrong ideas. So we practice in order to wake up from the wrong belief of ours, but instead we just believe that because I am meditating or I am practicing, and because of that I need to be offered. But if that's what you think, that's a wrong thought of yours. That's why it has to have the effect of the practice of the wisdom. So even when you're practicing the 6 parameters, you should always know that even if it is my charitable act, if you look at it in the original way, then you know that there is not much that you have actually contributed. It's a very big universe that we are talking about here. So when we talk about the 1000 universe, that's almost as big as our galaxy. And we say this kind of 1,000 world multiply 1,000, we call it a small world, and we call it the we also call the great manifold cosmos in our time, which is in the great 1,000 worlds. But you know, you need to use even your imagination to understand this. And And with the 7 precious jewels, even if you contribute or donate so much that you feel the great cosmos,
고시를 했다 손 치더라도 그것은 내가 만든 물건도 아니고 내 것도 아니고. 그래서 나는 어떻게
but we say it is still not enough because here we are talking about the voidness of the material world. If we say the 3,000, the great manifold cosmos, even if we contribute it and fill it together with it, it is not actually ours, that never belonged to ours. So yesterday I was looking at the documentary of the cosmos, and they say the stars, they're caused by the clash of 2 big stars, and at the time, the gold is caused due to the dynamic friction between the 2 stars. So they say it is not made by God, it is not made by anything else, but it is made by dependent arising. Because of the conditions and also because of the relation between them, the gold is caused. That's why we are not able to make gold. We cannot make 2 planets clash into another in order to make gold. So if I give gold from here to someone else, whose virtue is that it is not? It is not my virtue, even if I'm able to fill the great cosmos with the gold. I have just moved it from one place to another, but it was never mine. So, but despite all that, we say a lot of petty things around. So let's say there are really a great amount of chili on the tree, and we gave it to our neighborhood. We feel that we have done a great thing, but it is not actually mine. We have used water, we have used the solar energy, and we have also used the oxygen. So it is actually 99.99999% is born by natural features. And you also say it is, then you might also argue that it is you who planted the seeds, but who gave you the seeds? So there's not much that a human has actually done. We have actually done the act of plucking and eating it, but we say we plucked it and we gave it to someone else. And while doing that, we misunderstand that I have done something great. I have done a great charity work. It is not you. It is the air, it is the water, it is also the land and also the sun that did all the work. That's why do not be stuck with the idea that whether you gave it or not. When we think about it after great understanding, then we know that we have misunderstood and we assume that I have done this or I have done that. But if you look at it from the viewpoint of the universe, then you have not really done much. You have misunderstood yourself, and because of that you feel that you are giving out more. It feels like telling you that it is not something that is very serious or grave. It seems like that act feels to be something. Actually, when you're actually in a dream and dream of building a house or something like that, it is not so much. But in Buddhism, we feel like telling you that this is actually your dream. It feels like that is something. I told you before I was in training, and so I woke them up in the morning because it was time to wake up. And in the morning, he was showing me anchor, and I said, why? And they were like, I hold money in my hand. And he woke me up, and I told him, go back to sleep, and he was sleeping, and he woke up, and he's like, I tried to sleep again, and now I could not dream of money anymore, and I'm not even sleepy. So think about it, imagine like what kind of situation you are that you dream of money, and you wake up in the morning, and you should just understand that you have a complex with money so that you dream of money, but instead you wake up and you yell at me, and you are like, you counted numerous numerous like about the money in your dream, and no, but nowadays we just say that you have contributed this much, and you have built this, and you have done this. That is all nothing. But if I say that this is nothing and so you should not do it, no. People become more evil if you stop doing that kind of act. So you should do it more wisely and more often, and you should also try to wake other people from their dream, because they're suffering, because it feels like it's a dream, and so you should try to help them so that they could overcome their dream. You're not losing anything much because of your charitable act. Isn't it?
지혜를 수행하지 않고 육바라밀을 중에 앞에 5가지 보시지의 인욕정진 선정을 실제로 완수할 수 없습니다. 그러니까 처음에는 정진할 때 처음에는
without practicing wisdom, you cannot practice the 5 parameters of the 6 parameters. You cannot complete them. You cannot practice the charity or generosity or upholding or observing precepts or forbearance or exertion or samadhi. So you need to have a proper understanding and also proper concept of the act, and with the proper understanding you choose, and through the understanding you have to practice the method that you have learned before. And you have to understand that yes, this is the religion, this is a relation, voidness, this is also the dependent arising. You need to have the proper view of it, and then it will come to you as a reality. So in the end, that's why we say the observance is necessary in the end. So we are looking at the proper opinion through Samantha. You know the reflection, right? When you say the reflection, it's a very good choice of word. Because of the Samantha, it is very still. So we can know that even the smallest wave in your heart and the mind that you have aroused, we have the power to observe it. So we need to have the proper opinion, proper Buddhist opinion, and then we make samatha and we look at it, and then we look at the object, and then we understand that in fact it was right. In order to develop this kind of wisdom, we have to have the proper understanding of the middle way or the insight of the middle path. It is not possible with other opinions, but at this time we need to know the we need to have the proper understanding of the middle way. It is also same as dependent arising at the time. So we need to have the proper or accurate understanding of the voidness. And if we have the proper opinion, we can do the vipassana, and we can do the meditation and enter into the vipassana.